Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about the further third worldization of the United States of America, and specifically in the largest city in the United States of America, the city that I call home, New York City. And what we're going to highlight specifically as the example is what's going on with the Postal Service, because across the city of New York, major changes are made that are dissatisfying to customers, but the reason why these changes need to be made as of right now is because theft is out of control, and specifically mail theft. And by the way, this cuts very close to home because I recently got married. I had to mail out a bunch of different wedding invitations because I wanted to do it the old school classy way, and I still have people who have not received their invitations even though the wedding is gone, and I have still not received the overwhelming majority of the RSVPs despite me confirming that they were in fact sent out. And this is because of major vulnerabilities, but more importantly, a major lack in law enforcement. So we're going to highlight two different stories. I'm going to explain to you how it's a pattern of behavior and how, of course, these stories are actually connected, even though people are just reporting them separately as isolated incidents. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Surveillance video showing the moments a man robbed a mail carrier for the U.S. Postal Service at gunpoint. This happened in Queens in the middle of the day, and police are still on the hunt for whoever did this.
So one of the first things that you should notice about this surveillance video is the fact that it is a broad daylight robbery, among many other crimes that we've reported on that occurred in just the bright day, in and around noon in New York City or these major left-wing cities. This goes to show you how brazen the criminals are. And by the way, we shouldn't be surprised that this is a broad daylight robbery. A postal worker is being robbed. Post offices tend to be open from 9 to 5. That's when mail service is being delivered. But the fact of the matter is, this is a neighborhood. This woman was just sitting for a quick lunch break, and she was greeted by a criminal who shoved a gun in her stomach in order to steal her mailbox key. And this is a mailbox key to the green mailboxes. I'm not sure if your area's mail service works the same as New York City, which of course is where the trucks drop off the mail so that the mail person can grab them and deliver to the corresponding neighborhood. Also, a little bit of something that jumps out to me right there is one of those Saint or Virgin Mary statues. It's hard to see because it's pixelated that this woman is sitting on, and you could just see the contrast from the religious people that live in and around this area and from this brutal thug, this brutal criminal who decided that he was going to threaten the life of a mail worker, a female mail worker, in order to get a key, in order to steal people's packages and mail and their identity through that use of the mail key.
The terrifying robbery was caught on camera. This surveillance video shows a man walk past a USPS mail carrier at the corner of 55th Avenue and 63rd Place around 12:30 in the afternoon on Monday. He then turns around and approaches her.
Pulled out the gun on his hand toward my stomach area, and he said, "I'm gonna get your key and don't do anything."
The USPS mail carrier spoke with Pix 11 News, but asked we conceal her identity out of fear for her safety.
So right here, obviously you can hear the terror in this woman's voice. Later on, they will be concealing her identity because she's afraid of reprisal from the criminal. And what you get from her tone of voice is that she is still in a state of shock. Her life was nearly ended by a thug, by a criminal who just wanted to get access to the Postal Service mailboxes. And by the way, these green boxes have long been criticized for the fact that there is no tracking mechanism associated with these keys. These keys appear to open multiple different mailboxes, so when one is stolen or when a few are stolen, that gives broad access to the system and compromises it for everyone. And the fact that these robberies are so common, they're so frequent, it's just the post office has to play catch up constantly in order to open these mailboxes. Now, some suggestions for what you could do in order to fix this is maybe modernize these green boxes. Maybe you require a key that churns and also a numerical code in combination with that. But the fact of the matter is, right now, because we don't prosecute anyone for anything in the state of New York due to bail reform laws making it pointless and woke district attorneys who think the criminals are the victim, all of us have to be subject to compromised mail, potential identity theft, and a rampant uptick in the unease that people in these neighborhoods and workers in these neighborhoods have to deal with.
She says she put up her hands as the man stole her mailbox key from her belt before he walked off.
My chest hurts so bad. I'm very confused about everything. I think I'm in shock.
Now, I also want to highlight right there in this video is that the local news described it accurately. The man walked off. He didn't run off. He casually strolled away because he has no fear of anything going wrong for him in this situation, because the state of New York has catered the laws to the criminal, not to the postal worker. The state of New York sees that guy with the gun, that thug that was going to kill that woman for a mailbox key, as an innocent Angel Aladdin, and that woman honestly in a position of privilege, because how dare she have a stable job with union benefits while that guy is clearly and obviously suffering.
After the incident, the carrier called 911. Neighbors like this man rushed out to help.
That's scary. That's very scary. First time in my life I've seen or heard about something like that.
Neighbors say while they haven't heard of anyone being held at gunpoint in the area, they are no stranger to mail theft. In fact, a recent report found that mail theft is rampant in Queens and claims the United States Postal Service is mishandling the problem. As a result of the report, the Inspector General has issued several recommendations for USPS.
So like I told you earlier in the video, package theft is up dramatically, and of course a bunch of these reports are talking about the lack of security of these green mailboxes, but I also want to point out that these green mailboxes have existed for a very long time. They've been here since I moved to New York City when I was 7 years old, and this was never the issue at the level that it is today. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, people are getting more and more of their stuff, their products, their valuables through the package system. So obviously package thefts are going to be up when there are more packages, but also there's just no consequences for these crimes. Nobody is chasing down these criminals and holding them accountable because these are considered largely to be non-violent crimes, not serious, innocent Angel Aladdins just stealing your identity through the mail in order to feed their starving family. And by the way, the fact that we are so much more reliant on numbers and accounts and all this other different stuff that we get paperwork from in the mail also is a reason why people are hitting this up. A lot of identities are getting stolen in this way, and it's absolutely unacceptable. But again, when you don't have any kind of set standard for lawlessness, when you remove the enforcement mechanisms that maintain order, this is the kind of chaos and disorder that you tend to get.
City Councilor Robert Holden says something needs to change now. He wants to see stiffer penalties and more enforcement.
The fact that they're using guns now, weapons, is alarming. So, I mean, on a federal level, this is what we need Congress people to do. When you can't really feel comfortable mailing something in the United States, that's when you know we have a problem.
Look, what this guy said right here is absolutely true. And I also want to add that the postal inspectors in this country used to be absolutely legendary for cracking down on people who commit crimes in relation to the mail. But the thing that he misses is twofold. First and foremost, he says that the federal government has to do something about it. The feds have to handle their own postal system, which makes sense. But in reality, there are a lot of local crimes being committed right here. And this comes down to bail reform, raise the age, less is more, and a district attorney who's not prosecuting anyone for anything. So this person, as a representative in New York, needs to act in his capacity as a representative in New York. New York City has mandatory minimum gun laws for when you are in possession of an illegal firearm. You are supposed to go away to prison, and I remember when Plaxico Burress, a Super Bowl winning wide receiver for the New York Giants, inadvertently shot himself in the leg at a nightclub with a gun that he had registered in the state of Florida, was sent to prison due to the strict nature of these mandatory minimums. But for some reason, all of a sudden, fast forward to 2024, when the laws haven't changed. In fact, they probably have gotten harsher in terms of the minimums that you're supposed to go to prison when convicted on a weapons charge. People are having their weapons charges dropped. Prosecutors are going completely derelict in their duty. Now, of course, if you're a law-abiding citizen and you use a firearm to defend yourself, even in a clean-cut case of self-defense, like we also saw in Queens not that long ago, guess what? Even in that instance, even when they don't charge you, like Daniel Penny, with defending yourself because that's a crime, they still tag you with the weapons charge. They still go after you on that. But for these criminals, they get a break. They get the charges reduced. They get them dropped. They get diversion programs. And this is the result. More and more emboldened criminals armed with firearms because there is nothing to deter them from doing so. It doesn't exist anymore.
This mail carrier agrees.
I've been in Muscat area for a long time. It was much better before. Like, listen, safe, park was safe. Now, nobody want to go there because it's kind of like crime stuff happen.
So I really wanted to leave this part in the video because I can add some additional information to it so that you guys can understand the two key points that are in there. First and foremost, she talked about how this neighborhood used to feel safe, used to feel like you can go through the park, and no more. That is not a reality. You feel the danger in and around this area. And second, she named the area that this took place in, which is Maspeth, Queens. And for those of you who are unaware, this is where the package sorting hubs happen to be in the city of Queens. So packages end up being collected and sorted here for the other 5 boroughs. So the fact that this has become an area where packages and mail are being targeted is no coincidence. This is where a lot of this stuff is headquartered. This is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your criminal action. And the fact of the matter is, because all of this stuff, FedEx, UPS, a big post office station are located here, it should be easy for the police to target and defend this area. The criminals can go out to other parts of the city. They can commit crimes in other places, but the fact of the matter is where they actually are the most impactful is in this particular neighborhood. And rather than target a policing response to this type of crime, which is on the rise, specifically where it's most likely to be on the rise, we can't have data-driven policing anymore because that could result in a group of people being disproportionately arrested for the crimes that they're actually committing. Again, these policies have consequences. These woke district attorneys have consequences. Bail reform has consequences. Not violating people's probation and parole due to less is more has consequences. Raise the age, which says if you're under 18, you're basically a baby and we're never going to charge you for anything serious except sometimes when you commit murder, has consequences. And this is the impact of it. And by the way, it's being felt across the city. All the way in the borough of Staten Island, they're having similar problems with their post office, and now they're removing drive-up mailboxes in a post office where there is no parking, so the residents, due to the crime there, are essentially or effectively being denied services from the United States Postal Service.
The neon pink flyer says vandalism and theft are the 2 reasons the Postal Service permanently removed a pair of Manor Road drive-up mailboxes.
This is incredibly impossible for me to drop both letters.
A change that now has people struggling to find a parking spot, forcing them to go into the post office.
So look at what you're seeing right here. 2 days after that previous segment was dropped on the local news about a woman suffering from an armed robbery and the rampant increase in mail thefts across the city of New York, but specifically in Queens, this post office had to respond to that theft, to that vandalism, to that lost mail by removing a basic convenience that these people have had for years, which is a mailbox that is accessible for people who are driving. And guess what? Look at the line of cars that you see now. And again, this is the third worldization of the city of New York. This is America spiraling down, and a basic institution like the post office happens to be the proof positive of that. Now, of course, obviously you don't have a divine right to a mailbox that is accessible from your car, but the fact of the matter is, only a few years ago, this would have been unquestionably something that would have been left alone. But instead, right now, you have a bunch of New Yorkers who just want to drop off their mail, just want to get through their regular ordinary duties, that have to line up for a small parking lot in a place like the city of New York. And for those of you who are saying, oh, well, Sean, they should take the subway. Cars are stupid. I like trains because I'm a stupid. Well, guess what? This is Staten Island. They don't have a subway system. There's a rail line, but it doesn't go everywhere, and people are much more reliant on their vehicles there. What needs to happen right here, and again, it was what was said in the Queen segment by the victims of the crime, and it's what's going to be said by the people suffering from this crime, is that they need to do law enforcement against these criminals.
If it's a vandalism problem, address the problem. Don't punish us.
We're very disturbed by this development. It's not just this post office.
Congresswoman Nicole Melly talking Rebecca says that her office got a complaint on August 24th, and since then, other people have reached out. She told us that USPS told her that its crews removed the blue boxes in part because of check fraud.
So right here, it's being blamed on vandalism and theft. And I know everybody's going to say that theft, that's just done to feed your starving family. That's perfectly normal in society, and we should treat those people like innocent angel Aladdins. But the vandalism on top of the theft should let you know that these criminals are actually enjoying what they're doing. They're having fun with it. It's not just about being profitable. It's about destroying society. And again, we have yet another secondary impact of allowing theft to go rampant in the city of New York, and that is inconveniencing all of these people, all of these residents in the city of New York. And by the way, for those of you going to be like, they voted for this, I do want to point out that Staten Island is the red part of the city of New York. They consistently vote for tough on crime policies. They do not want this to happen. They vote against it, and they actually have a district attorney that wants to prosecute these cases, but state laws prevent any consequences from being instituted, so it's not effective even when you're working in good faith trying to resolve the problem. And the post office, we're told in the previous segment that they have to do something about it, but when you're not enforcing any of the local laws and everybody gets released same day automatically due to bail reform, this is really what they can do about it.
Lawmakers who rallied with her understand but think that this removal is a step too far. Instead, they say they want to see surveillance cameras and extra postal police patrols.
If there are thefts, and it happens, let's get the guys who do it and put them behind bars if necessary. But let's not give in.
So here we go. Second verse, exact same as the first. You have a crime problem. You should address the criminal. But New York State has made it completely pointless to even attempt to do so. So what ends up happening? The law-abiding citizen has to suffer more and more inconveniences, more and more problems, because there is no will politically from the Democratic Party in the state of New York to actually address these issues. In fact, they keep trying to tell you that they don't exist, that this isn't happening, that this is a non-problem, that maybe, just maybe, what's going on in the mail is that there's a lot of poverty in the mail. And if we just looked in the mailboxes, maybe we could arrest poverty and then we could solve these issues. Again, if anyone knows what poverty was wearing, if everybody knows what poverty's hair color is, if you have an address for poverty, call the TIPS hotline and tell the police where they can go and arrest poverty. And yes, there's also the systemic structures. If you know what they're wearing, you know what kind of scarf they got on, send that over to the police as well, and maybe, just maybe, we can arrest poverty and the systemic structures. But us in reality want to deal with the criminal. Us in reality want to not lose services. Us in reality, us residents of the city of New York who pay way too much money in order to live in the city of New York should not have third world conditions at first world prices. But this is what we're offered time and time again.
A USPS rep told News 4 within the last year the agency removed 25 mailboxes on Staten Island, adding in most cases they were pulled because of repeated crime and or low mail count. We also learned that the Postal Service is actively swapping out older boxes with new upgraded ones.
I'm really hoping that they put these mailboxes back, just, bring sense of community back.
So yeah, I feel for the residents of Staten Island. They are the red stronghold in the city of New York who consistently votes for law and order, but I also feel for the overall residents in the city of New York who, faced with the choice of woker than Bill de Blasio or just as woke candidates as Bill de Blasio, voted for the guy who at least ran on being tough on crime. But the fact of the matter is, running on an issue and saying you might think about doing something on an issue is not the same as actually enforcing the laws, and the proof in the pudding is in the taste. But better not put a stamp on that, because if you drop it in a mailbox, it's going to be stolen by a thug. Now, of course, I'm going to open up the discussion for you guys down in the comments below. I want to know what you think about this disastrous scenario, and as usual, if you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the loss of mail services. Till next time.